like a love bite. It wasn't like a love munch. It was like, ouch.
Hi, I'm Kat.
And I'm Gabe. And we're the Ghouls next door.
Talking about spooky stuff from a distance.
From
Look
a
at
distance.
my new ghoul lair.
Yes, we are separated because of the pandemic, and to be safe, we are remote recording in a very unique way.
Yes.
Which means that you are at a new lair, the new Ghouls lair.
I was told not to look at the camera too much because I usually just look at Gabe's beautiful face, but no longer can. His life is sad. So I'm going to look at Kitten instead. So I'm just going to look like off into the distance. And it's going to look really like emotional. Because one, Kitten's adorable. And two, I miss you.
Yes. It's funny because Charlie is also trying to get involved in this recording. I think she thinks whenever I'm alone in a room and I'm like talking, because I'm talking to people that she can't see, she thinks I'm talking to her.
That sounds right. I feel like a cat's vanity is large enough to always think that if anyone's ever talking, it's to them.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, okay, this is time for attention now. I must obey.
Yeah.
So expect that we'll weirdly be looking at the camera and not looking at the camera. And also our cats are going to be involved because they think it's time for them.
I'm just making really weird faces into the camera. So I hope that, like, just really, listener, I hope that you just feel the connection of weird.
Yes. We always tell listeners to check out the
I'm reaching for you,
YouTube. Aw, I'll reach for you. So virtually, remotely, I guess, we are continuing our queer horror series. We have 5 amazing episodes, so we've done 2, because December is long, just like this year has been for us. It is incredibly long. So today we're actually going to be talking about a film that is foreign, again, like Thelma, but this time we are Brazilian.
Yes, we're talking about Good Manners, which is, I guess, an interesting name for it because I didn't get that. Like, I guess societal pressure, but like I was like, why is it named this? And I'm sure there's reasons, but
it's super true.
I was like, huh, I don't understand. Is like werewolves being bad manners? And it's like a critique on werewolf life, or no? But yeah,
or maybe
Good
it's
Manners.
Like a critique on how to be a mom or woman.
Oh yeah, no, there you go. You got it. You're always the smart one, so
trying.
Yeah, but Good Manners is from 2017, so somewhat recent. And it's Clara, a lonely nurse from the outskirts of Sao Paulo, is hired by mysterious and wealthy Anna as the nanny for her unborn child. The two women develop a strong bond, but fateful night changes their plans. It's directed by Marco Dutra and Juliana Roja.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was, in my investigation into this film, was reading about how they had a film before this in 2011 called Hard Labor, which is about a couple that buys a grocery store and spooky stuff happens.
Ooh.
Or weird stuff happens.
Spooky
so very
stuff.
Interesting.
That's what I want to happen when a grocery store owns, when I own a grocery store one time in life.
Yeah. If I own any type of store, I want it to be spooky.
Like needless things, right? Isn't that what it's called?
Needful things. Yeah. The opposite. I mean, they were needless. Like, they didn't actually need those things.
Yeah, they thought they did. But that's besides the point. Okay, why don't you tell them?
Yeah, so they are skilled storytellers in, weaving together like this kind of art house, unique way of presenting information, as well as like having kind of spookiness, but it was never really like fear. Like, it's not scary. it's more like you're concerned
Uh-huh.
and like graphic things happen. It has really honestly like phenomenal graphics. So like there's a part where there is a flashback to what had happened and why this woman is pregnant.
Yes. That was
From
cool.
like the and it was so cool. But I remember saying like, oh, it's because they want to save on CG and not do this like transformation, which will explain what that transformation is. But then later we get those transformations and they were so good. I really enjoyed them. I was like, we need to
werewolf baby.
like yes, I really wanted them to like send clips to the FX creators react to YouTube channel because they always like do really cool stuff like that. I was like, I bet they would love this.
Yeah.
But I digress. This story is about a woman, Clara, who is looking for a job. And she decides to be the nanny for this rather wealthy woman, Anna, who is pregnant and alone.
Yeah.
Incredibly alone. In this luxurious apartment. Like the door is huge. Like I couldn't get over this door.
Yeah, you kept saying it was like a nature house.
Yeah, it's like it's like pushing in like if you lived in a medieval town and you had to like push in the door to the town. Like that's what it looked like, but it was her house.
Yeah.
And it was like I would say this whole film was unexpected. There wasn't a time like you called one of the scenes, but even that, like what happens with it, totally unexpected.
Yeah.
Like,
so when that happened, I was like, there is a whole hour of movie left. What are they going to do with this whole hour of movie left? Because at that point, we had watched a decent chunk of the movie. And I was like, okay, this is like the big reveal. This is the end. And then I looked, I was like, there is an hour. What? Like I was blown away. And then they also like filled the hour. It felt like necessary. So it was kind of like that wonderful where a movie is really long, but you're like happy that it was kind of like how we had with No Ride of the Curse, where we're like, this is forever, but it was definitely worth the whole ride.
Yeah. Yeah. So this film is like over 2 hours. But yeah, it really like, I never felt like it was 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like there are definitely films where you're like, oof, we're still here. We're still doing this, like a killer condom. Yep. We're like, does this really need to keep going?
A long time to get to the whole point of the film.
Yeah, can we just skip a few parts?
No.
But this was like, to me, it felt like two stories. Like we get like, this was like a book to me. So we have like part one. And part one is, Clara learning to love this quirky and lonely and troubled woman who is Anna, who has been abandoned by her family because she is pregnant.
Yeah.
And not by the man she was supposed to marry because he was wealthy. Like she was just a pawn, right? Like it's clear it wasn't love.
Yeah.
And so she... And she is really quirky. Like she dresses. I was like, where do you shop for sexy, sophisticated maternity dress? Because like she was great. And then she's in her little cowgirl boots and she would love dancing to like Brazilian cowgirl music. Yep. She loves horses. Like she was a horse girl.
There were, as you said, werehorse throughout the entire movie.
I was convinced that she had sex with her horse because she loved it so much, but no, it was a werewolf.
See, it's just spoilers. Like there's like I have a friend that is very into equestrian life, and it's just that's very much like they're very in love, like not in a we're having sex with our horses now, but like in a very like this is my child equivalent of like love, and it's like a very unique like subculture. Like the equestrian world is like they really care, like they're like it's a very expensive love, but it is very much in there as worth it and intense and very meaningful.
Yeah, my sister rides horses and she has some, and I know that she really loves them. My mom used to train horses for the Kentucky Derby for a while. And there's like, she still like will talk about these horses very fondly, like they were, pets. Like I would talk about my cat Charlie, right? Like she's like, my horse named Move It was super mean. No one liked him except for me.
Why Move It? That is a funny name.
Well, if you think about the Kentucky Derby, they all have weird names.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Right? They always have those strange things, and his name was Move It. because he was always getting scolded. And Victoria, I think, has one named like Biscuit or something.
That's cute.
I can't remember. She'll get mad at me.
I used to love horses, and then I found out I was allergic. Like one day, like I went to horse camp and everything. Like I was super into them. And then I like one day developed this like crazy allergy to it where my eyes would swell shut. When I got my allergy test done, it ruined the rest of the allergy test. Like they had to redo half of my allergy test because my back swelled up to like the size of a baseball. Because they're like, wow, you're really allergic to horses. Like you're allergic to a lot of things, but extra for horses. Like don't go near them.
Like horses don't do.
Yeah, like don't do that one. You can't ever have an equestrian like life. Give up those not dreams that you don't have, but just give them up. You go near them, you're sick. I was like, okay.
My friend Leia used to ride horses and do like tricks. She'd do like the jumps and stuff. But we digress again. She likes horses, and I made a lot of inappropriate horse jokes. Yes. Because she really liked horses. Anyway, it was silly jokes. So she's very quirky. She does her little like Zumba classes to the really fun music, and is lovable. She's very clearly like someone who's been alone for the majority of her life, and never really had anyone who would stop and like take care of her or ask her. Like when she kind of has that flashback to what had happened to her. And how she ended up pregnant, like no one was helping her in that.
No.
Like where did all her friends go that she was partying with? And then like even the padre of the town, like he didn't do anything. Like people just shunned her.
Yeah.
Like, and the way she accepted it was just like, well, yeah, of course. To her, it was like, yeah, people just don't do that for me. And it's like, oh, that's so sad. And then we have Clara, who is also equally alone, who, you know, she goes to this job. She doesn't have any experience like being a nanny. She's worked with kids at like a school or something.
She took care of her mom, I believe.
Oh, yeah. She took care of her mom or grandmom. And then she didn't have a reference, so they ended up calling her landlady.
Yes.
And it was like clear, like, all right, this is over. But then Anna has like this pain, and Clara like rises to the occasion immediately.
Yeah.
And I was saying when we were watching it, when she's like waiting for that, like the first interview to be over, like she's like in the waiting room, which is the living room. The lady was saying like, oh, are you feeling better now? Like, should we call your husband?
Yeah.
And so my thought was like, she probably like made that up. Or maybe it happens frequently enough that she was like planning for it. So that she could see how a potential nanny would react. Because, of course, Clara rises to the occasion immediately and is like, I will take care of you. And it works out because, you know, the other lady was like very strict, had like she was a part of a whole team of nannies, like in a company.
Yeah, it seemed like she was definitely very much more with like the status quo, and like I think the assumption was that she has this nice house, she's pregnant. It's like, oh, where's your husband? Like your husband would be the one to take. It kind of just like devalued her experience and was just like, you only matter in the context of a man.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it works.
What are non-hetero relationships? This nanny does not know.
Yeah. What's a single mom? But also a part of it is that Anna's looking for someone to take care of her. Like she needs someone to take care of her before the baby's even born. So it works out that, you know, Anna does that. Like, you know, or Clara does that. Like Clara has taken care of people. Like a grown person. So it just works. And so like the whole first half is like them kind of connecting and, you know, Anna opening up about her neglectful father and her terrible ex-fiance, talking about her birthday, celebrating it alone.
Yeah.
Trying to buy herself some shoes that no pregnant woman
oh my God,
would be
the
able
heels.
to wear.
Yes. And then like she ran into that
crazy
lady who was supposed to be her friend, and like the lady just totally ignored her. So like you get this like sense that like even if she did have friends, they were not real friends, and you know, money only does so much, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, it's like, yeah, it's they're her friends until she doesn't have money, and then you're not, because you're not the same person, right? You're less to us. And all while that, like, just their genuine, like, attraction to each other and love is growing, it's revealed that Anna's doing some weird things where she, one, eats a lot of meat.
Yes.
She eats a lot of
So
meat.
much
And then the
meat.
doctor's like, you can't do this. It's not healthy. You're not allowed to have any meat. And she's like, I need it. Then she, like, sleepwalks and she does crazy things. She, like, makes out very aggressively with Clara and then bites her. It's questionable. Like, not in, like, a love bite. It wasn't like a love munch. It was like, ouch.
It's not a love munch. Yep.
It's
It was
not
an
a
aggressive bite. There was no safe word. There was just like, I'm gonna eat your face.
Yeah.
And it was like,
And this is like the first time that we're making out. And we know that Clara is a lesbian, or at least a queer, in that, like, she goes to a bar and is kind of like flirting and getting picked up by this other woman.
Yes.
That whole time I was like, how do you know?
I don't know.
Like, to have such confidence. Like, I would be like, I don't, do we, are you, are you, okay, I am, are you? And they didn't have that. They just kind of went in it and they were like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe it's like a secret.
It's really interesting because I definitely relate to what you just said. It's like, because, like, you don't know. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna hit on this girl. Like, what if now she thinks I'm weird because she does not roll that way? And it's like, yeah, that's fair. It's hard to tell.
And they did a really good job. They were just like, yeah. And it was like, get it. Get it, Clara. And then she comes on and immediately, like, makes out with this girl who then bites her. But then, like, and it's kind of, like, troublesome. Like, I definitely was worried that we were going to get into Thelma territory of, like, are you doing this as, like, a way of control? Like, is this going to be disingenuous? Is it just because you're there? But then as soon as this, like, relationship kicked off, I really didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
I felt like they honestly loved each other and cared about each other. And, like, dude, I would say top 5 ever, like, sex scenes that ever existed.
Yeah, I would agree. And you're totally right. Their relationship, like, developed very genuinely. Like, yes, they had that weird werewolf makeout session, but
who doesn't? Yeah, who hasn't had?
But I remember talking about it. I was like, I'm so thankful that they didn't just leave it at that. Like, that they actually, like, really character developed and made it, like, a well-rounded relationship where you get to see them, like, non-werewolf time make out. And, like, yes, as you said, one of the top 5 sex scenes.
Yeah, which is, like, when we're talking about queer horror, or, like, especially lesbians in horror, right? Like, I can think of 3 lesbian scenes. One is Jennifer's body, which we talked about, and how we hated it, right?
Yeah.
Like, because to me, I felt like it was unfounded. I felt like Needy and Jennifer's relationship were really just friendly. And if anything, maybe Needy felt something for Jennifer, but I did not in any way feel like Jennifer ever felt that way.
Yeah.
And it was just predatory and gross. I hated that. And it was also, like, for the male gaze, like that entire movie was.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't genuine. It was just like, this is to show off every, like, gross male fantasy of women making out, not because they like each other, but it's because it's for them.
Yeah, right. And then there's Thelma, which we just talked about last week, right? And so, like, and those scenes are questionable. One, because most of them are in her head, but then the other ones are like, was that consensual? Should we feel uncomfortable during that, right?
Yeah.
And then the third one that I can think of is, oh man, what is the title of that? Black Swan? Is that it? Natalie Portman?
What?
And Mila Kunis?
Oh,
the Black Swan?
Black Swan, yes. I thought you said wax on, and I was like, what? Is that a title?
That's a new one.
I don't think I've seen that. Oh my gosh. Yes, Black Swan. That is what happened.
Black Swan, yeah. And she has that whole, like lesbian scene, which was like, a whole time for me. I was like, whoa, you put Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis. Like, yeah, I understand this also might be for the male gaze, but it's also for my gaze.
Unbelievably beautiful woman. Yes.
Say less. But also, it was kind of like she's losing reality, and that didn't feel genuine either, because it was like, does she really care about this person, or is this about this, or is this about something else? Like, there's too many layers of that film.
Yeah.
we should probably dissect it someday. But I remember watching it and feeling similar to Jennifer's Body, where I was like, is this here literally just to get some attention?
Yeah.
Like, is this literally like, because I mean, you put Mila Kunis and Natalie Portman in a movie together where they're like ballerinas, so it's kind of expected. Like, is that why it's there? Oh, yeah. Or is this genuine? Whereas this one was the first one I've ever seen that was honestly beautiful and intimate and like no holds barred. Like, it was erotic. Like, and so it definitely, I was like, whoa.
At no point was I was like, this is for men. It was like, no, this is just a genuine like sex time. And that's great. And it shouldn't be because just it wasn't show their boobs and making out a bunch. Oh, like, it was literally, no, like, this is what sex is. Like, you would see. Yeah. It was good.
Yeah. Because it wasn't like the traditional like scenes that you would see with lesbians, right? Like, I remember there's a scene in Orange is the New Black where I forget Poussey, like there's a flashback with Poussey where she and her partner tried to do like the scissoring thing, and they're like, how does this work? And I was like, that's so funny, because no one ever talks about like having those conversations of like, where do our bodies go? Yeah. And this was very much like an intimate act where they were pleasing each other. Like, that was just it. Like, it wasn't gratuitous. It wasn't where you're in this weird like angle so that you see the right parts of someone's body. Like, it was literally like you just see thigh, right? And it was like the most erotic thigh I've ever seen.
No, yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah, so super romantic relationship, and they're immediately like just like in love with each other. Like, they are like, it kind of like feels like they've always been this. Like, they're just, it's natural. Like, oh, we're going to raise this kid together. I was super excited. I was like, loving werewolf lesbian parents, like family drama. Sign me up. And then you were like, no, it's going to be really bad. And I was like, no, it's not.
I was like, Gabe, I hope they don't, but I know that this is going to happen. She's not living to see Werewolf Baby. Like, I've seen Twilight. And not that Twilight is the representation of all like supernatural times, but that baby is going to claw its way out of her. Like, no doubts. I'm 100% certain. You're like, nuh-uh. It's just, they're just gonna be happy, and for the next hour it's gonna be both of them racing this. I was like, no, it's not.
For the next hour, it's just happy times.
It's a horror movie in the snow. It's happening.
So it is sad. Sad things happen.
Yes.
Before that, we know something's up because she, like, in her every full moon for 4 days, she does weird stuff. Like, she sleepwalks and wanders around and eats meat and bites her lover, and
murders
then also
cats.
eats a cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy our brain was in the same, like, we said that at the same time. It's just cat murder is the most horrifying part of this movie for us because we love our babies.
Yes. It was awful. And, like, there's also, like, a musical thing that happens. Like, there's singing in the space.
Yes, I forgot about that. There are musical
It happens
spots.
a few times. So weird. Such an like, it definitely just, like, couldn't pick a genre, but it was fine. Like, I was, like, okay with that. One of my favorite things is her telling the story of how she got pregnant with this child, and it's a flashback that is narrated by Anna, and it is, like, it's animated in this really cool way. And I was like, what a weird thing to do in the middle of this film. Yeah. I love it. I'm, like, here for it. You know what it reminds me of?
What?
Happiness of the Katakuris.
Okay, yes. It's okay. That's definitely yes. Because it's very, like, artsy. It's definitely has its scary moments, but it's definitely just, like, storytelling, but in a really, like, cool way. So definitely you get that, like, energy. And we're like, the transformation was really interesting. You definitely see, like, how they go from, like, to CG, like how it seemed, honestly, what this film was to me is if they had the first one and the sequel, and then they just made it all one film.
Yeah, because it definitely seems like as soon as, like, the child is born, or made. Like it borns itself.
Yeah. Rips itself out of its mom's body and crawls across the floor.
Yeah. And it was like, I was like, oh no, this is going to be scary. Like, I've seen my fair share of supernatural babies. We all know the horrifying baby animatronic thing that they made for Twilight.
Yes.
We have seen the zombie baby from Dawn of the Dead.
I do remember Zombie Baby.
Something.
Yeah, what a trip that was.
Mm-hmm. There's also a zombie baby in that one zombie show. Not Walking Dead. The other one. With the tiger.
Oh.
The zombie tiger. Remember that?
I know what you're talking about, but I forgot that there was a zombie baby in that.
It was like one of the first ones. Anyway, so we've seen supernatural babies. And they're pretty bad.
Yes.
You never love them. You're like, let's put it out of its misery and also our misery. As soon as they showed that werewolf baby, I was in love. And I wanted a werewolf baby of my own. I was like, oh my God, it is so cute. And he was like... He had the umbilical cord wrapped around him, which is the only reason why he did that, because he was fighting for his life.
Yeah.
He is a survivor, just like his lesbian moms. And it was like, I was like, you can't be mad at him. You can't.
Well, because he only did it because, the umbilical cord was trapped around its neck.
Yeah.
And like, nothing on mom, but she was also taking a lot of pills that maybe she shouldn't have taken that many pills.
Well, I think she was taking all those pills because he was freaking out.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense because she was like in pain.
She was in pain.
That makes more sense. I was like, whoa, what's happening?
She was
why do you take so many? Too many is bad. She
made Clara leave. And that to me, like, if we're talking about werewolves, right? It makes me think of dogs and how, like, when they know they're gonna die, they like go and stay under a tree away from you.
Yeah, they're like, I don't want you to see. Yeah.
So I felt like she was like, this pain is not birth, this is death. And so I just can't have her here. I'm gonna protect her. From what's happening. And so that's what I think happened.
She seemed so not okay. Like, she was definitely like seemed on the verge of something bad was happening. Like, you could sense that. I remember being like, she does not sound happy about this snack she's asking her to get. Like, this is weird. Like,
she was desperate.
Yeah, you saw like her eyes. She was a fantastic actor. Both of them were. Like, the character development in this film was fantastic. In that, like, the acting was great, and then you really just like saw the pain whenever there was a moment where that was something. And in that moment, you definitely saw like the pain in her eyes. Yeah.
There's we get to see like, so Clara takes care of this baby, and at first I was like, what are you going to feed this baby? You are not lactating. And it reminded me of another film I can't remember, but of like a woman who had like either a demon baby or a vampire baby or something. A similar trauma to your breasts situation. And I was like, why am I living this? But then we fast forward in time, like, what, 7 years?
Yeah, I think he was about 7.
Yeah. And it's like, all of a sudden, Claire's like #1 best mom. She's got a cute little hairstyle.
She has friends and like a community around her.
She's like a nurse. And she's like a good mom. And one thing I really enjoyed about this was, so he is a werewolf, right? And we know that because we saw him as a baby. And so when the moon comes, she calls it the little room, the little bedroom.
Yeah, like tiny bedroom.
Yeah. And they go in there and he gets chained up, which is like, oof.
Yeah.
What did you say, Kai? You're like, any other situation, this is bad.
Yeah, like, this is full, like, if anyone saw this, they'd be like, he's not a werewolf, you're just abusing him. But in this very specific scenario, it's like, all right, I get it. He does. Exactly, this is for both his safety and yours. But yeah, chaining your child up in a tiny room that's hidden behind a bookshelf usually is like
not good.
Just abuse. Like, there's no excusing it unless your child's a werewolf.
PSA,
which is hard to prove.
Yes.
Unless it's the time of the full moon. But let me tell you, imagine, like, I don't know what the equivalent for Brazil's DHS is, but imagine they find that tiny room, they take this child away, child goes full werewolf, and mom's like, I said. Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? Y'all are all dead now. He ate you. He comes to get mom, saves the day.
Yeah.
But like,
We
imagine
leave.
that's where my mind
Yeah.
went.
Yeah. And I mean, when people do see it, eventually it's like this complication because it is around the time when he is changing. And he's like, it's tough because it's one of those issues again with parents withholding information because they think a kid doesn't have it. And he is very much, he knows that he's missing something.
Yeah.
He knows he's missing his other mom. He doesn't know who his dad is. He has friends who have parents. He's not allowed to go anywhere. He has to go to tiny room. Once a month, he can't go to the dance with the girl he likes.
Because it's during a full moon.
And it's like, it's hard. And I feel like that's where, you know, communication would help. There's only so much you can really explain to like a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
But I think like giving him a little bit, you know, so he knows what his own power is.
Yeah. Like he's
just
different,
like
but like it's not, he doesn't have enough of the context. It's like when parents kind of wait too long to tell their kids Santa isn't real, but with high stakes.
Yeah. Yes. The stakes are he could eat his friend.
And he did.
And he did.
Spoilers.
So, but she like, one thing I liked about this whole like werewolf situation is that he still has the werewolf stuff.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't just recede, like the hair doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
And he's human now, like which happens. Like instead he's like still hairy and his nails are still long. So she like painstakingly every morning after his transition will shave him and then cut down his nails and make sure that he looks presentable and human to go out and do his life, which is like, I feel like he should know that that's not normal.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely get this energy that like he kind of gets that he's a little bit different, but doesn't understand the danger factor. Like doesn't understand that like, because he doesn't remember what happens in the transformation, just like his mom didn't.
Oh, yeah,
or like there's like this kind of gap. So he's just like, why? I don't understand. But there's definitely, you do wish that she gave him a little bit more information like this. But I guess he didn't want him to like feel like a outsider or like blame himself for his other mom's death.
Yeah. It's like, it's interesting because
It's tough.
there's there's an article by Medium on medium.com in their film reviews. It is titled Film Review Good Manners 2017 by Josephine Maria Yanasak Leshinsky.
Cool.
And there's literally like the one part that I want to highlight mostly is just the log line at the top. And it says, known primarily as a lesbian werewolf movie, Good Manners transforms rapidly into a film about chosen family. Because I really feel like in the midst of, you know, because like with Spiral, it was like, this is a queer film.
Yeah.
This is about the queer experience, right? Thelma was like, this girl's finding herself. It also happens that she's attracted to this woman and in love with her.
Yeah.
This one was like, there is a queer romance in here, but it's just so normal. Like it's like everything about them is like, this is just what their life is, that it's not like big, right? And I think that's beautiful. And then changing it into like, it is definitely about chosen family because like they choose each other. They're from different worlds, right? Like Anna being super rich and Clara being more like, you know, paycheck to paycheck life, right? Like couldn't pay her rent. To, you know, her being a single mom to a kid of the woman that she loved. Yeah. And it was like, and that's really, and it became like all the love she had for Anna was then put into Joelle. Like 100%. Like she was just like, you are my child. Like there's no, like, and that's a part of why she wouldn't tell him what happened to the mom. Or like who
trying to like
his
protect
real mom
him
was. Yeah.
From
like, it was
the
like, I
fact
don't want him
that
to know that.
And she probably also saw like the umbilical cord, so she knew like you did. Like it was like this was to save him. Like he had to get out of there. And I think in loving Anna kind of saw like the non-monstrous side of the fact that werewolf is a thing that exists. Like, because she still loved Anna like wholeheartedly, even, and like helped her through the fact that she was dealing with this transition more so than being like, oh no, scared werewolf, we must call the priest or whatever. Like an outsider reacted to the news.
Yeah, one of the other musical singers. Yeah, there's like in this article, there's another part I wanted to mention, and it's specifically that like this film primarily is focusing on women. Like there's very little men in this film, and when they're there, they're not positive, right? Like Joel is our young little boy, and he's impressionable, and he is influenced by his friend who has like a dad who's like, whatever, they're kids, you know? And like, that's all we really see of like, that's all Joel sees as far as like men are concerned. But like in the past, we know about Anna's dad being crappy. We know about the fiance being crappy. We know about the padre who didn't help, and the padre in this town who's also kind of sketchy. And so you're like, never was there any good men, which is like super exciting. Love that. But the article says, the overall absence of men in the film is not felt, but the binary roles enforce a kind of cold, warm, and evil-good opposition that bears more criticism. Anna's father provides money, but is controlling and absent. Cold. The father of a nearby town, the priest, kicks off certain events in the film, possibly abusing his position while betraying it. Evil. The women in the film are mothers. First Anna, who refuses an abortion, then Clara, who becomes a mother herself. Warm. And I definitely felt that. Like it took reading that to be like, actually, you're so right, article. Because like the neighbors and her friends, all women. The little girl who likes the boy, girl. Right? Like, I was like, there's no, like, the lady in the store, the other rude lady in the store, like, all women. Yeah, and it was the only time that we saw men were flashbacks or in words.
If you think about it, there were not very many male, like, staff, I guess, like, on set in terms of actors. And even in opportunities where they could have included, like, a male presence, they went animated.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
And I was like, that's so cool. Like, because I was like excited. I was like, we don't need to see that person. Like, we don't need to see his transformation.
Because it's not about him, the story. He's just means.
And I think like it's a representation of like, he is just this 2D thing, right? Like he's just a memory. This situation is just a memory. It's just something that happened to me. That's why I'm remembering it this way. We're not going to exist in that space. Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah. No, this film was fantastic. I was so pleasant. Like, not that I thought it wasn't going to be good, but like, I didn't know. I was like, I know that we were excited to watch this, but you know, I didn't have many set expectations going in. And I was totally blown away. Like, it was just fantastically filmed, fantastically acted. This kid did a great job dealing with being a werewolf. The ending was so beautiful / stressful. In that you have like this moment where Claire is able to get him to recognize her as like his mom while he's transformed. Like, he is in full werewolf time and is able to like sing him back to, I guess, like mentality that like he or she is not the enemy. And they like stand up to fight together. And I just thought that was really beautiful. It was like recognizing, even though like when he was like fighting with her throughout this, like trying to understand what he is, who he is, and like what his history is, you get this like recognizing that, you know, we are family, the chosen family, as you said, and like you are my mom, and I recognize you even when I am in a like murderous state, when I am full werewolf. Like, you were the only one who could have pulled me back from that, and that was like really beautiful.
Yeah, and that she's like, I'm gonna take care of you. Yeah. Like you've made these mistakes and you're in trouble. We're both in trouble. And it's never once like a, okay, now we're going to fight kind of thing. Like, or I told you so, or like, you should have listened to me. Like, she's never lecturing him. She's like, okay, she sings him the song that his mom sang to him and loved.
Mm-hmm.
And he reaches out his little werewolf paw and they hold hands. And it was like the cutest thing in the world. I was like weeping.
Yeah. She's always like fighting for his best interests, like in terms of, as you said, like she doesn't really scold him. She's just like, I need you to do enough to survive, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Like when he is kind of like putting himself in danger in certain scenarios, like she's actively like, not like, we're going to fight about this. She's like, I'm going to make sure you are safe and we will talk about it when it is safe to talk about it, essentially. And that was really cool to me to like just see that kind of like really protective, I guess, strong parenting style, instead of like, we're going to argue about this and that's going to end up with something bad happening. Instead, it is like, I know what you need to do to be okay, and we're going to achieve that. And that, like, it's very much a trauma response. So like, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, you're not supposed to argue with your kid when they're having a tantrum, because they are not present in understand, like that in terms of like trauma-informed practices. You are not supposed to argue or like rationalize with a child who is basically like losing it, who is screaming or like adamantly like clearly upset. You're supposed to get them to a calm state first, then discuss what happens. So you definitely like see that. And I think it kind of ties back to that whole, like, she's cared for people. She's cared for her mom when she was sick. She took care of Anna, right?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. She took care of Anna, and she was like really much like very able to like take care of people and see them for who they are. And that was really cool. Like, I don't think she received trauma-informed practice training, but she did all the right stuff.
Yeah, she definitely had it like instinctually. Like the fact that she like the way she responded to Anna when she had that kind of pained reaction in that first meeting was like, that's her instinct, is to help and to kind of be like, okay, let's analyze, what is the problem? Let's fix it. Here are the steps. Keep a level head. And she has that all the time. And I think it's like, we could very easily get the cliched like evil baby story with this, right? Like the fact that he does end up being a part of, like, being the reason why his mother's dead. Like, it's so easy to write a story where he's inherently evil because he is this creature. Like, that's what we're trying to represent here. But instead it was just another version of the other.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, they're going to be stigmatized. And like on the surface, right? Like if we take away the fact that he is a werewolf, it's that this is a mother who is traumatized. This is not her kid. Like, she lost the person she loved, the only person who understood her and saw her for who she is. And like that the only person she'll ever honestly love besides this kid, right? And then there's this kid who has one mom who he doesn't look like, and like, you know, isn't understood, and he's like, you know, closed off and closeted because his mom is so you know, overprotective, because also he was premature. Like, he was
arguably he's also dealing with trauma too. So like, he has his own moments where if you argued that like the loss of his mom and the premature nature of his birth caused like infant level trauma, because like the process of his birth definitely was a traumatic birth. And this feeling that like, one, he did lose his other mom, where he's like kind of processing that, realizing he's different from everyone else. And if like his tantrums were just like at night near the time where he was born, he just had like fits.
Yeah.
It would be a very similar movie, even if it doesn't involve the werewolf end.
Yeah, because I mean, what happened was he was born premature. His mom died in childbirth. That happens, right? And then she's the parent that's left behind, who has to grapple with, like, I lost my partner and my love and your parent, and also continue to love you and not hold you accountable. Like, even though, like, as just a natural human thing, you kind of do that, right? Like, it's like, because I mean, technically, if you weren't here, that person would still be alive, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot to grapple with that. And I just think, you know, when you're kind of peeling away the layers and you take off the layer of supernatural werewolf transformations and such, you're really just getting this story about like a mom who is dealing with the loss of her partner and, you know, loving her kid who's like rebelling and striking out because life is complicated. And I think it's done so beautifully. And to put that, I think it's a refreshing way to look at the other and to look at werewolves, because it's not, the classic, puberty tale. It's not
Mm-hmm. He's
masculine.
young. Yeah.
It's not overtly masculine, which werewolves tend to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like, you get hair everywhere and you rage out and it's like your testosterone, right? It's not that. He's just like, this happens to me, and then I get like, spa treatment from my loving parent, and like, I just have these real emotions, and I'm a kid. And I think that's awesome. And definitely one of my favorite films. I know that the horror queers talked highly about it, and so I was even more excited, because I was like, we're gonna do this, and they're like, yes. And I was like, okay, good, I made a good decision, and definitely did. So definitely check it out if you are interested in spending. Again, it's 2 hours, but it doesn't feel that way. The CG is awesome. The acting is phenomenal. It is beautiful. You feel for these characters. Like, they're so weird. They're so peculiar and so real. Like, people are weird, and it's like very beautiful in that.
Yeah, human. They're all very human, and
which is funny.
That they're, but that they're actors. But it was like, I feel like sometimes even when you get movies, you get like the sensationalized version of it, and I feel like the film made it very raw and genuine, instead of like sensationalized or like embellished, or kind of like, it kind of just felt like we were like spectators watching life unfold, instead of like, this was written to be sending a certain kind of, I don't know, kind of fancy times. This is a box office movie. We're pushing a specific agenda or whatever, or like a story. And it was like, no, this is just like raw human time with werewolves plus werewolves.
Yeah. It was like a glimpse into like a kind of voyeuristic, like, you're just happening upon this person's life.
Yeah.
And there's musicals in it.
Yeah, the musical parts were fun.
Like the Katakuris. Right, like they had animation, they had musicals.
Also, Sheikah sang.
Yeah, she
the
would.
main character.
That was so crazy.
Yeah, like, beautiful voice.
And there was like a beautiful song too about. The song was like, "This is what the film is about. It's about how hard it is to be a mom. Like, it's so hard because I love you so much, and I just want to do what's best for you, and you're gonna do what you got to do, and I just have to keep loving you despite that, and it hurts to." I literally bleed for you, and like, for the song, it's like figuratively.
It's a song about what it's like to have a Timmy who's actively trying to go out into the world and die. And you're like, no, I love you so much. Stop it. You're doing danger. Can't I just keep you inside and safe? And it's like, no, that's not. You have to let them go outside, because otherwise, isolation.
Yeah, if you never let anything happen to them, then nothing will happen to them.
They're going to go crazy when they get to college if they live that long.
That was a quote from Dory in Finding Nemo. She said, if you never let anything happen to him, then nothing will ever happen to him. And Marlon's like, I'm not seeing the problem. She's like, dude, give him some space. Yeah. Anyway, that was our review in depth of Good Manners, which is phenomenal. Again, foreign, so don't let subtitles keep you away from another phenomenal film. This one definitely, it's definitely my favorite in the series so far. I really liked it.
Everyone should watch it. 100%.
I don't have any critiques.
Same. Yeah, no, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since we left a film just like, nah, that was great. Everything was wonderful. I loved it. 5 out of 5. No critiques. Keep everything the same. Great job.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time that's happened. I feel like this is a moment.
I think Sorry to Bother You was the last one.
True.
Because we really loved Sorry to Bother You. I don't think there's anything I didn't like. And you know what? Clara, the main character, is darker skinned, and they do some really amazing, beautiful lighting for her.
Yes.
So exciting. It's so possible. Let's get some more melanin in there. It's gonna look so great. And she was phenomenal. And it's like, why does Brazil have this? America, get it together.
That's so real.
So with that note, don't get married.
Delete your kids.
Delete your kids.
Or your kids delete other kids.
Yeah, or your kids
they're werewolves.
Bust out of you.
Ooh,
cliche
yeah.
supernatural style.
I
But your
knew it was
partner
going to
can take care of it.
happen. Yeah. I already told Gabe, I texted her after this. I was like, okay, I want werewolf baby, but if I have werewolf baby, I will be dead and can't raise werewolf baby. So if you have werewolf baby, I will take care of werewolf baby and be best mom. So
yeah, and
you're
I said
allowed.
I wanted the werewolf baby.
So reverse
yeah.
scenario.
Yeah, and then we asked our partners if they were secretly werewolves, and hers gave her a very definitive answer, whereas mine did not.
He was like, I'm not a werewolf.
Mine was like, why are you asking?
I'm not.
What are you talking about?
Werewolf.
He didn't say that. He didn't even say I'm not a werewolf. He couldn't even say it.
Did he go up the steps like a wolf? Because I feel like that's something he would do immediately afterwards. He'd be like, I'm going up the steps normal.
And then
he howls at the top.
That sounds right. Honestly, probably. I just kind of take everything with a grain of salt now.
Yeah.
But yes, we will see you next week. We got 2 more episodes in this queer horror, so stay tuned.
Factuals.
Let us know what you think. Remember to like and subscribe and comment and just send us love. Email us, ghoulsnextdoor@gmail.com.
We will respond, even if it takes multiple drafts to make sure we say everything.
Yeah, we will. We will respond. We respond to everything. But we love you and your werewolf children.
Yes.
So goodbye.
Bye.